The next front in the battle with Ottawa.
When we told them to stay out of provincial jurisdiction, Ottawa ignored us.
The Premier announces a panel to come up with new ideas. The dangers of replica guns and bear spray.
We need the support of community members and parents.
How the city and police are cracking down on the growing concern. Reading in the wild.
Sometimes we just need a moment to engage with a good book.
A big turnout for an event aimed at book lovers and community building.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Alicia Fieldberg.
Good evening. The province is again pushing back against Ottawa, and it wants to hear how Albertans want to fight back. A panel will host a series of town halls and then put together possible questions to go to a referendum next year. Jordan Canagan reports.
In the shadow of an oil rig from the past, Alberta's premier is looking to the future.
Ottawa, led by successive Liberal governments propped up by their NDP allies, have attacked our economy and taken direct aim at Alberta's core industries.
Danielle Smith says Alberta is at a crossroads. An Alberta Next panel of more than a dozen people was chosen. Politicians, academics, business leaders, and more will listen to Albertans about defending the province's economy and how to push back against Ottawa.
In the absence of fairness and functionality, each province should be within their rights to explore ways to have greater control of their destiny and defend their interests while remaining firmly in the Federation.
But it comes as separatism sentiment bubbles across the province.
It's a tightrope that she's walking. Right? On the one hand, she wants to support referenda, including on separation, potentially. At the same time, she's trying to work within Canada and get a better deal.
A better deal should include more autonomy, Smith says, and Albertans will be asked to consider a possible Alberta pension plan, a provincial police force, equalization payments, and more.
I mean, Ottawa has been interfering in every aspect of our provincial jurisdiction in deeper and deeper ways for about a decade now, and we've had enough of it. So I would say that this is trying to reset the relationship to get Ottawa focused on its areas of jurisdiction.
Jordan Canagan, CTV News, Calgary.
In-person and virtual town halls will start next month and run through September across the province. The last one will be in Calgary on September 29th. After that, recommendations for possible referendum questions will be crafted for Albertans to vote on next year. A provincial government committee has approved extra funding for the Auditor General's investigation into allegations of corruption in private healthcare contracts. Doug Wiley says the scope and complexity of the work means his office needs nearly $1 million more. The money will go towards additional help and legal costs. Members from both the UCP and NDP who sit on the legislature committee that approved the request says Wiley is doing important work. His investigation began earlier this year due to allegations made by the former head of Alberta Health Services. The results from yesterday's by-election in the Olds Didsbury Three Hills riding took some by surprise, putting a party or two's future into question. Jacqueline Wilson has the details.
Tara Sawyer and the United Conservative Party has held on to the rural riding of Olds Didsbury Three Hills with 61% of the vote.
Oh, I'm just very happy that Tara has won it.
The NDP finished with 20%, beating both the Republican Party of Alberta and the Wild Rose Loyalty Coalition.
I have never, ever voted NDP, but I just felt this time that we needed a change.
Many were curious if the Republican Party, which focused on Alberta's secession, would receive more votes in an area that elected a separatist MLA, Gordon Kessler, in 1982. And it comes at a time when discontent with Ottawa is high in Alberta.
The results of this by-election in Olds Didsbury Three Hills could not be more disastrous for the Republican Party of Alberta. To have come in third behind the NDP is not something that even their most ardent supporters could ever have imagined, and I would expect them to go off into the wilderness at this point.
However, candidate Cameron Davies sees the 18% of votes as the foundation to build support.
It took a step of courage for people to step away from their traditional voting habits and patterns and say, you know what, the status quo isn't working. And my message to them is we're still here, we're still fighting, we're not going away anytime soon. This is just the beginning.
The Premier hopes to quell the separatist movement and Conservative vote splitting with a stronger relationship with Mark Carney's government.
The sentiment that you're seeing was created in Ottawa by 10 years of terrible policy. And I think it can also be dialed down by Ottawa by undoing 10 years of terrible policy and allowing us to get back to investing and allowing us to be able to chart our own course as a province in our areas of jurisdiction. So I think that the jury is very much still out on the future of that movement, but I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to address these concerns so that that sentiment subsides.
Jacqueline Wilson, CTV News, Didsbury.
The province hosted a virtual session tonight for Calgary residents, providing an update about its plans for passenger rail. The government's vision is to build high-speed rail between Edmonton and Calgary to each of their airports and to Banff and Jasper. The project would cost billions of dollars and could see passenger rail in 30 years. Plans are expected to be completed this summer, so Cabinet can be informed in the fall ahead of budget discussions. An Edmonton session will happen tomorrow, and a province-wide session will take place Thursday. People in West Hillhurst held a town hall meeting tonight raising concerns about harmful creosote in their neighborhood. Community members said there hasn't been a public meeting about the contamination since 2018. Creosote seeped under the river on the south bank of the Bow River, where there was once a wood treating facility. Residents worry new plans for a condo in their area would churn up the toxic chemical, which has been linked to cancer. They plan to speak against the project in City Hall on July 15th.
We think that there's continuing migration under the river across into the north side, so the risk is not really fully being handled by the city and the developer.
They say whether the development ends up happening or not, the city should look more closely at the creosote situation. City Councillor Terry Wong was at the meeting. Residents also invited Alberta Environment, but no representatives attended. The boating advisory for the Bow River has been lifted. The fire department issued the advisory after Saturday's rainstorm. Boating and other water activities were prohibited on the Bow because it was flowing high and fast. Fire officials say the flow rate has now decreased, but there are still dangers, including reduced visibility and frigid water. Normal activities can resume, but take precautions. Danielle, we had some thunderstorm activity earlier, and we can expect more of that tomorrow, maybe even in the days ahead.
Yeah, and even a little more intense tomorrow as well. This is just one of those weeks where late-day thunderstorms are possible for most days. Another thing about tomorrow is a little less sunshine expected as well, mainly cloudy skies even in the morning. And then by 4 in the afternoon, that's when we get into the chance of showers and the risk of thunderstorm activity. And I will say that the thunderstorm activity could get to that level where we get medium-sized hail in the city. So keep that in mind. 23 degrees for a daytime high for tomorrow. More details in your full forecast coming up.
Thanks, Danielle. Calgary police officers have seen a lot of air guns being used in crimes all over the city. They look real, but fire BBs or soft projectiles. The problem is that officers respond to these calls using real guns, and they don't want to see anyone getting hurt. Kevin Fleming reports.
These are some of the air guns Calgary police have seized in our city. They look and feel like a real gun, and when police are called after someone's spotted with one, they respond as if it is a real gun, because it's hard to tell the difference at a distance.
I handled one of these earlier, and it's unbelievable how the look, weight and feel is to my service firearm.
Police say they're used in all kinds of crimes throughout the city, but also by young people playing with them. Last year, 817 air guns were seized in our city, and in the first 5 months of this year, officers have seized 333. Police say they typically get a call a day involving an air gun.
Many youth see these as just as a toy, or they're playing a game. However, that is fine as long as it's in a supervised and in controlled environment. If it's brought out into the public or brought into a public space, then it is seen and treated very much like a weapon, no longer a toy.
Police are asking parents to educate their children on the rules of air guns, and they say it's illegal to fire them within city limits. At the same time, City Council made a move to make public spaces safer by amending its public behavior bylaw that targets targets people openly showing weapons, including pepper spray.
If you talk to someone that is out walking with their family and they see someone wielding a knife, I can tell you that's not perception anymore. That is actually experiencing something that's quite fearful. So I'm really glad we made this step. Every step we take towards increased public safety matters a lot to Calgarians.
Bylaw officers can now fine someone breaking the rules for up to $250.
If our peace officers are able to ensure that anybody who is wielding a weapon or something like a can of bear spray, if our peace officers are able to address this, that really does help take the burden off of Calgary Police Service.
Well, don't rev your engine too much this summer or you'll end up with a ticket. Police will be targeting drivers operating excessively loud or modified vehicles. The focus is on noisy mufflers, engine revving, squealing tires, loud music, and recurring alarms. Officers will use decibel meters and body-worn cameras to detect violations. Fines go up to $300. Calgarians are urged to report noisy vehicles by calling 311. Well, there are no plans to move or euthanize a bobcat mom and her kittens after an attack in the southeast sent a woman to hospital. Fish and Wildlife officers determined the bobcat's behavior was defensive. A woman was walking her dog near her home Monday morning when the mother bobcat ran at her and bit her. Since it seems to have been an isolated chance encounter and there's no immediate risk to the public, the Fish and Wildlife team says they aren't planning to take any more action. Now, the city has decided not to start charging for parking at Edworthy Park. It was going to pave and expand the north side lot and introduce pay parking. The gravel lot is one of 2 access points to the park, and many community members spoke out against the city's plan. Councillors say there will be community consultation about how to improve the area.
So the folks in Point McKay and Parkdale that were part of the process fully agree that we need to do some minor enhancements, and that is the annual grading, but also improve some of the safety areas in there. So what are the changes we can do now and the enhancements we can take forward in the 2026 year?
The lot will stay as it is with maintenance as needed. Hundreds of people gathered in a Calgary park to read amongst nature tonight. People stretched out on the grass at Central Memorial Park for the outdoor readathon. You could bring your own book or choose one from Calgary's oldest library. The Reading in the Wild event was organized by WordFest and the Calgary Public Library.
The joy of gathering together in Calgary's most beautiful downtown park, lying on a blanket, eating some ice cream, and more than anything else, losing yourself in a really good book.
It's nice just to read a couple of pages and then talk to people around you and listen to a couple of songs.
It's a free event, but more than 1,000 people signed up for Reading in the Wild this year, triple the amount that signed up last year. Up to 10% of all pregnancies in Alberta will involve high blood pressure, and it can be very dangerous. A Calgary mom is currently in a coma after giving birth, and her husband hopes to prevent other families from having to face this fate.
You're watching CTV News, Calgary.
A Calgary mother of 3 still hasn't regained consciousness after suffering a stroke just days after she gave birth. Now her husband is reaching out for support and warning others of the potential risk of blood pressure disorders and stroke in pregnancy. Stephanie Thomas reports.
Ifat Shakti gave birth to a baby named Julia on June 5th. It was an uncomplicated delivery, but 7 days later, Shakti suffered a stroke. Doctors performed brain surgery, but she still hasn't woken up.
She's under a lot of sedation and a lot of medicine to keep her like paralyzed pretty much.
Her husband, Marco Martel, says her medical team believes high blood pressure led to a rare complication postpartum. His 28-year-old wife remains in the intensive care unit at the Foothills Hospital. Most of her family is in her home country, Bangladesh. Martel cannot work and cares for their 3-year-old and 1-year-old boys and a newborn.
Sometimes the neurological test is good, other times it's bad.
He set up a GoFundMe page to help the family get by as they wait for the medical team to update them.
We don't even know what quality of life she will have, Like she might just not be able to even walk or talk.
The Heart and Stroke Foundation says women are at higher risk of stroke in pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
The average rate of stroke in pregnancy is less than 1%, in fact, less than 0.1%. However, what we see is it's much more common in people who've had high blood pressure during pregnancy.
She says blood pressure readings are crucial immediately after delivery. However, the risk can continue later in life.
We know we need to do better at a health system level to have programs to better support home blood pressure monitoring for patients.
Martel doesn't want any other family to go through what he's going through.
But no matter what, because I'm her husband, even if she comes as a vegetable or whatever the situation is, I'm going to still keep her alive and be by her side and make sure that she at least get to see her kids grow.
Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.
University of Calgary researchers will gather data at the Calgary Stampede for 3 studies. One will explore how shade impacts the horses. Another will analyze the track and how horse movements change over the days of racing. A third study will use blood tests and ECGs to study the hearts of rodeo horses.
In horse equine studies, it's very difficult to have a large number of animals. You know, if you read the literature, you have basically 2 types of studies. You have the studies in a lab, an equine lab, where you have honestly published 6 to 10 horses, and you have the field studies where it's really hard to get 50, 100 horses.
The Stampede hopes the research can be used to improve safety at events. Last year, 4 animals had to be euthanized during the Stampede. Shania Twain is targeting a problem impacting millions of Canadians. Stats Canada data shows food insecurity affects 10 million Canadians, including 2.5 million children. Twain is hoping to reduce these numbers by committing $25,000 to several cities, including Calgary. These funds will provide 75,000 meals to people facing food insecurity in our city. Her summer tour kicks off at the Calgary Stampede on July 5th, and she will be our parade marshal. The Hangar Flight Museum is celebrating some upgrades with a grand reopening to mark half a century. Renovations total just over $1 million and include larger walkways and a mezzanine extension in the historic main hangar. The upgrades come after nearly 2 years of planning. The hangar was built in 1941 and has been a museum since 1975. We'll expect some thunderstorm activity throughout the week. Danielle is along next with her forecast.
Well, temperatures right where they should be for this time of year in Calgary and much of southern Alberta as well. Very different from what is still going on out east. Look at that high in Toronto, 35, with the humidity feeling like 44. Yikes. So they're going to start to regulate and get closer to normal. We're at normal, and we should remain around that normal for another day or so. Couple days anyway. Okay, earlier today, a brief little non-severe thunderstorm passed through the Calgary area on the far north end, but really we have the potential for any sort of isolated shower activity, non-severe thunderstorm up until about 1 in the morning. And then that clears out. But what won't clear out is the clouds. The clouds will continually push in while we're sleeping tonight, and it gives us a cloudy morning for tomorrow. There may be the sun peeking out here and there, but overall, mainly cloudy for tomorrow morning. And then after 4 p.m., we run the risk of thunderstorm activity really in through Kananaskis, over through to Calgary, down Highway 2, potentially even up parts of QE2, and over down the Trans-Canada to about Brooks. What I do have to mention about these little cells for tomorrow is some of them can intensify to the point where we actually get up to medium-sized hail. So it could be one of those days. So of course, take the storm seriously if you see them approaching you tomorrow later in the day. Okay, let's look at Thursday. Thursday, we should see a good bunch of sunshine for the day, but then after 4, we run into the risk of thunderstorms once again, as you can see here, basically in the same area as expected as late day Wednesday. Friday, a bit of a different thing going on because this is 9:30 in the morning, and we have the potential for on and off showers throughout the day. So a bit of a cooler, rainy day for Friday is on tap for us. Tomorrow, 23. Again, that's a little above normal. Mainly cloudy skies, late day thunderstorms possible, especially after 4 p.m. Thursday, we should see more sunshine, but after 4 p.m., thunderstorms possible once again. Friday, on and off rain, and we could even pick up 5 millimeters on Friday. And then Saturday, a little bit of late day instability, but by the weekend, as you can see here, we get back into the 20s again.
Thanks, Danielle. Tomorrow's a big day for some local golfers. That's when the Calgary Ladies City Amateur wraps up. And right now, it's too close to predict who might win. You can soon get a pair of iconic shoes worn by a Canadian hero. Terry Fox's navy blue and white Adidas Orions are being re-released on July 3rd in honor of the 45th anniversary of the Marathon of Hope. This announcement comes as Terry's brother Daryl and the National Ride of Hope passed through Thunder Bay, Ontario, the same location where Terry's run came to an end in 1980. The 7,000-kilometer ride across Canada has nearly reached its goal of raising $1 million for cancer research. It was the second round of the Calgary City Ladies Amateur today, and it looks like it might come down to the final hole to know who might win the finals tomorrow. Glenn Campbell reports.
It was a beautiful day for round 2 of the Calgary Ladies City Amateur at the beautiful Calgary Golf and Country Club. Emily Cornwall of Springbank Links is the defending champ, and she's tied for the lead with Tessa Ion after 2 days. Cornwall shot a 1 under 70 on Tuesday and is 4 over heading into the final round.
So as much as there's pressure from, outside factors to perform and do well, I think the most amount of pressure comes from yourself, and I think that's where the drive for my game comes from anyway. So I think just, using that self-pressure to kind of push me along this week is what I need to do.
Cornwall would love to repeat as the Ladies City Amateur champ. She knows she'll have to have another strong round on Wednesday and feels this will be the key.
Good putting. The putting out here is tough, and that's probably, this course is just about only defense. It's pretty short, just about, getting it in close and just making those putts. I mean, that's really what it was the last 2 days, so that's what it's going to be the third day. So just got to stay patient on the greens, and I think that'll be what wins it.
Megan LeBlanc is a 5-time City Ladies Amateur champ. She had the lead after day 1, but fell back a bit today after a 6 over 77, but still just 4 shots off the pace.
A little tougher today, just on the wrong side a couple of those pins, and had a couple 3-putts, but course is in great shape, so, hit some good shots, so, just build on that tomorrow.
14-year-old Alessandra Sundquist of Willow Park teed it up with LeBlanc and another past champ, Andrea Cosa. She birdied her final 2 holes to shoot a 79 on day 2 and will cherish this experience.
It can be a little intimidating sometimes, seeing the really big girls get out there and just how far they hit it. But it's a great experience being in this tournament. It's really fun with all of them.
Glenn Campbell, CTV Sports, Calgary.
Thanks for staying up late with us.